Hey friends! In today's video, I'm sharing a cozy finished object that is perfect for these chilly days we've been having. I will also update you on the progress of my Easy V sweater and share some gorgeous yarn from a talented local dyer. And to top it all off, I have a beautiful skein of yarn to give away to one lucky viewer. So grab your knitting and join me for some cozy vibes. Welcome to Hattie Knits Along. My name is Allison and I'm a knitter living in the Pacific Northwest. On this channel, I like to talk about all things knitting, what I'm working on, what you're working on, and what we are currently nerding out about. So if that sounds like something you're into, I hope you will subscribe so you never miss a video. First of all, I would like to apologize that this video is a little bit late this week. I went on a trip this last weekend and then my toddler got really sick and basically took up all my energy to take care of him, but he is doing much better now, so thank you for all of your concern about him. But yeah, so let's dive right in. The first thing I want to talk about today is my finished object, which is the Lolly Beret by the Lamb & Kid Designs, and that is what I'm wearing right now. This beret is a fun little knit. It's a free pattern written by the Lamb & Kid Designs, which is a shop up in Washington on Bainbridge Island. And they have their own house yarn called Diamond Lane. And this is Diamond Lane yarn. So Big Birdie is a blend of 79% alpaca and 21% silk, and it is an Aran weight yarn. I believe they have Birdie, which is maybe a sport or DK weight. It's a thinner gauge, but Big Birdie is their Aran weight, and it knits up so quickly. The skein that I bought it at Flock Fiber Festival back in August in Seattle. And let's see, it was 100 grams and 174 yards. This colorway is the color beret, and it's the color that they designed the beret in. I looked it up on their website and I don't see it anymore, so I'm wondering if this was an exclusive for Flock or something like that. But the beret is a super fun, quick, and very simple knit. I cast this on because I knew I was going on my trip last weekend and I wanted something that was smaller and more portable to take with me when I was going around Portland. And this worked out great for that. It didn't take a lot of effort to think about what was happening. You do kind of have to keep track of increases and decreases, but not too bad, especially if you place stitch markers along the way. And I cast this hat on Thursday night in preparation for leaving on Friday, and then I finished it on Sunday afternoon. And that was with a lot of, touristy going around Portland and not necessarily having a lot of time to knit. So I was really pleased with how fast this knit up. In fact, I was even a little sad when it was over because I didn't have my quick little project to work on anymore. I have not weighed how much is left, but there's quite a bit left, and this hat is a little big on me, so I'm wondering if I could even modify it to make it slightly smaller and make another one for my daughter. It wouldn't take me very long, and it was a fun knit, and I think she would like it. The pattern, since it's a free pattern, it only comes in one size. So the ribbing called for a size 6 needle, and I didn't have one available to do. I needed, DPNs to do it, but I did have size 5. So I did size 5, and I have kind of a small head. So I knew having a little bit tighter ribbing wouldn't be the worst thing ever. And then I did have the correct size for the main body, which was size 7. And I did most of it on 16-inch circulars, and then the top crown decreases on DPNs. I just love the way this fabric feels. It is so soft, but it is also still pretty, structured. And it's very warm because it's alpaca. I'm especially excited to have this as a finished object because the mornings here have been so cold. This morning when I was driving my daughter to school, it was 25, and that's just not super normal for us to be cold for that long. I think it's going to be cold for at least another week like this. And so I'm glad to have a nice warm hat to wear in this very frigid weather. When I first finished the hat and I put it on, my daughter and my mom both said I looked like a chef, and I don't really understand what they meant by that, but I do think that the beret was missing the crisp, rounded edge that a beret usually has. So when I blocked it, when I got home, I put it over a plate to dry and tried to get that more crisp edge on around it. And I think, yeah, I think it did a pretty good job. I didn't have the perfect size plate to do it on, but I think it did help. And it gives it less chefy vibes. But overall, it was a really fun thing to knit, and I already had the yarn for it, and it was the perfect weekend project. So if you're looking for something like that to keep your head warm, I recommend this. And it's just a fun yarn to work with too, that is not something you would typically find around. I do think Farmer's Daughter Fibers has their Oh Dang DK, which is not an Aran weight like Big Birdie is, but it is a thicker Surrey alpaca, and you could probably get a similar look to it with that yarn. Let me know if there's other yarns that are similar with this alpaca silk blend that are not lace weight, like a chunkier weight. I think they're pretty fun. Next, I would like to share my work in progress that I've been working on this week, and that is my Easy V sweater by Caitlin Hunter. If you missed last week's episode, I shared how I cast that on and talked a little bit about the yarn and the make-along that I'm going to be participating in. So please make sure you check out that video. The link will be up here. Let me show you what I've got right now. So, as you can see, I have split for sleeves, and I am pretty much finished with the body. I just have to do 2 inches of ribbing on the bottom. And then I just have sleeves to go. So I am cruising right along here. Let me tell you about knitting the body. So for the most part, this is stockinette in the round, and it's 9 inches of stockinette in the round. So it was pretty easy to knit. There is, as soon as you finish the color work, there are some short rows on the back. And I want to know if this picks it up on the camera. But yes, it does. See these ridges right here? So I think that is called rowing out, and I think that is because I was doing short rows and I was knitting back and forth instead of in the round, and my purling tension was a little bit different than my knitting tension. And I'm hopeful that those ridges will block out. But if they don't, they are on the back and hopefully won't be too noticeable. And I learned a lesson about paying attention to that as I'm going, because I didn't really notice it until I was a few inches into the body, and I didn't really want to go back and try to fix it. But I do appreciate that there are short rows in this, because as you can see when I hold it up like this, the front sits just slightly forward of the back, and that's going to make it sit really nicely on my neck. There's a couple things that I didn't necessarily know when I was reading the pattern what to do. So this is the first time I'm knitting a circular yoke sweater. and the pattern said to try on the sweater and see if you were ready to split for sleeves or not. Well, I tried it on, but I didn't know if I was ready to split for sleeves or not, because I didn't know necessarily when to split for sleeves. Like, what was I looking for when I tried it on? I tried to look up some other people who have knit the same sweater, who have similar body types and knitting a similar size to me, and I didn't see that anybody made major modifications to split for sleeves later, so I just decided to follow the pattern and see what happens. I have not tried this on since then. I'm waiting to finish the ribbing and then I'll try it on. But also, it hasn't been blocked, so I think it will open up a little bit. The main thing I was worried about is I don't want to have like bat wings on the sweater. I do want it to be split in the right spot for that, but I also want it to be kind of a bigger fit and more oversized slouchy fit. So we will see what happens once the ribbing is done. And this knitting in stockinette was great because we did go for a little road trip this weekend, and basically that's what I did in the car the entire time. It is the perfect kind of car knitting, and it doesn't have to be that portable because I just sat still and knit in the round while looking out the window and things like that. And then yesterday I got some fun knitting done because Onyx Storm, the next not the next book in the Fourth Wing series by Rebecca Yarros, came out yesterday, and so I definitely was enjoying reading that while I was knitting, and that was very fun. So now that I'm in the ribbing, I think it's a little harder to read and knit, but I think I'm still gonna try it because I want to read more of this book. So in the body of the sweater, I had to join new yarn twice, and I used the the spit splice method with this yarn. And if you don't remember from last week, I'm using Ritual Dyes Elder, which is 100% Rambouillet, and it's a worsted weight yarn. It's a 2-ply yarn. So what I did was just cut off one of the plies, like maybe an inch on each end. So the end that's attached to my sweater and the end of the new ball. And I wet those two ends, and then I just kind of rubbed them together. And I really liked the way that it spliced together. It was very easy. It did not take a lot of effort at all. And I don't think you can see where I joined. Let me see. I would say probably right about there is where I joined. That's for me really looking for it, and I don't think, just wearing the sweater, nobody's gonna notice where I joined it, and I love that because I have made other garments where the joins are very hard to make invisible, and it drives me insane. I hate the way it looks. It's just like this big snafu, especially in a sea of stockinette. It just really stands out. So I'm super pleased with this yarn's ability to splice together and make a seamless join. And I think it looks really nice. I also am pleased that I have this much left to do the ribbing on the body, and then I have 2 more skeins ready to go, one for each arm. So I think I got the perfect amount of yarn, which is very exciting because nobody wants to run out of yarn in the middle of a project. And the pattern, Caitlin says to use a very stretchy bind off for the bottom of the body after the ribbing, and I think that that's a good call. Oh, because actually these have a rolled hem. So as you can see in the neckline, you do a little bit of stockinette first before you start the ribbing to give it this rolled hem look, which looks really cool. And the bottom of the body is going to have that same look. So after I'm done with the ribbing, I will do a couple of rounds of stockinette so it rolls up on itself. And then that's why you really need the stretchy bind off, because otherwise it'll just like suck itself in and ruin all of that beautiful ribbing that you just did to, make it looser on the bottom. So I do have one sweater that I did the bind off on the body a little too tight, and it does bother me sometimes. I think it rides up in a weird way. It doesn't lay flat all the time. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm doing a good stretchy bind off for that. In the pattern, she said she used Jenny's surprisingly stretchy bind off, and I think that's what I'll go with, but let me know down in the comments below if you have any suggestions for a stretchy bind off that's good for the body of a sweater, because I want to make sure that it looks good and fits nicely when I'm done. Oh, one thing I also last week wasn't sure if I was going to switch needles for the body of the sweater, and I did not. So I did size 7 on the color work, and then I kept doing size 7 on the body of the sweater, and I like the fabric that it made for that. And then I went down to a size 5 for the ribbing, which is what I did for the neckline as well. So I think that will look very nice, and we'll see what I decide for the sleeves because it is a smaller circumference. Sometimes it's good to size up the needles when you're doing small circumference knitting so that it doesn't get too dense of a fabric. I haven't gotten there yet, so I'll keep you updated on that piece. One of the fun things that I did in Portland this weekend was visit Ritual Dye's brick and mortar shop. I think it's on Division Street, and I hadn't been there before, even though I really enjoy Ritual Dye's yarn, and I've been to Sacred Sheep twice, which is the festival they put on in November. But I really wanted to check out their shop, and I had that opportunity to do so this weekend, and it was perfect because the same weekend they were hosting a trunk show for Tumalo Fiber, which is a small dyer out of Bend, Oregon, and I am in love with her yarn. Tatiana is the dyer behind Tumalo Fiber, and she just makes gorgeous yarn. I first saw her yarn at Sacred Sheep in November, and her booth was packed full of people the whole weekend. There were so many people who wanted to buy her yarn. The colors were so beautiful, and the yarn bases that she chose were unique and so lovely to hold. So I was excited to go to this trunk show and to go to Ritual Dyes. And being somebody who is a project knitter, I wanted to make sure I had some ideas in mind of what I wanted to buy. I didn't want to go in there and feel overwhelmed and not know what to get. So I did some research ahead of time about what I'm interested in knitting in the next few months. And I decided I really want to knit the Mozart pullover by Caitlin Hunter. And one of her yarn suggestions for that sweater is Fluff by the Wandering Flock, and I know that Ritual Dyes sells that yarn. So I looked it up and made sure that they had it in stock. I really love the color Sky Blue, which is this very, very light, dusty blue color. And yeah, I'm sold. That's the one I want. So I had that in mind to get at Ritual Dyes. And then from Tumalo, I decided to look at the Avenue Vest by Tori Knits NYC. And the Avenue Vest, there's a V-neck version and there's a crew neck version. And I'm really into the V-neck version. I really want to make that. It's a worsted weight gauge, but she achieves it by holding, I think, a DK weight and a lace weight together or a worsted weight yarn. So I had that in mind to look for at Temelo. And yeah, I went into the shop. I was excited. I found the fluff yarn right away from the Wandering Flock, and they only had 3 skeins left. Now, that is not a sweater's quantity. I can't remember exactly how many skeins, but I think I needed 7 or 8 skeins to make this sweater. So, sad face, I did not buy it because I didn't want to get it and then not have enough to actually ever make the sweater. I know I can order it from the Wandering Flock's website themselves, so if I have a chance to knit that soon, I will order that yarn once it gets closer. I looked at Tumalo. I really wanted to feel their Ghost Ranch worsted. Is it called Ghost? No, Ghost Town worsted. The Ghost Town worsted is 100% Shishinko wool and it's non-superwash, and there's some really beautiful colors that she gets out of that yarn. So I really wanted to feel that and look at it, but she did not bring that yarn to the trunk show. She did have Ghost Town Sport, and it's still the same non-superwash Shiniko wool. So I saw that and I was like, well, I don't know, we'll see. But then I saw her swanky floof. And I think maybe I'm just in a floof mood lately. But the swanky floof is her base that is 13% cashmere, 53% baby alpaca, and 34% silk. And it is technically a lace weight, but it is very floofy. Much more floofy than a mohair, like in terms of how much volume it takes up, I think. So I am thinking I'm going to pair these 2 colors together. And I'm going to make the Avenue vest, and hopefully I can get the right gauge with these 2 yarns held together. A sport weight and this floofy lace weight. So the sport weight yarn, that is Ghost Town Sport, is called Bark. And hopefully you could see these like red and yellow speckles in this yarn. And this is the color Beetroot in the Swanky Floof. On my camera, it's looking much redder than it is. But yeah, if you compare it to like this beret yarn, it's much more of a purpley burgundy color than it is the red that you kind of see here. So anyways, I hope I have enough yardage for this. I got 2 skeins each of these, and this sport weight is 312 yards, and the Swanky Floof is 438 yards. So I got 2 skeins each to make a vest with a pretty deep V-neck. So hopefully that's enough. And anyways, I was really, I don't know. Obviously, I was happy to be at Ritual Dyes, and I don't necessarily blame them for not being prepared for my sweater's quantity of fluff, but it was a little disappointing that they didn't have that. And then, but I mean, I still love looking at all the different colors and all the different yarn bases, and being able to feel them and touch them in person is always so nice. It definitely gives me a better idea when I am shopping online of what I'm looking for. I had a fun time going there, and I didn't get to check out any other yarn shops while we were in Portland, but hopefully I can come back soon. In a few weeks, I think at the first weekend of March, there is the Rose City Yarn Crawl, so I am hoping to be able to go to that. Let me know if you will be attending that as well. As I was preparing to make this video, I realized that it was a very Pacific Northwest centric video. So I have my hat that is Lamb and Kid Designs and Big Diamond Lane yarn, which is out of Washington. And I have my Easy V sweater, which is knit up in Ritual Dyes Elder, which is a Portland-based yarn, as well as Spin Cycles Dream State, which is another Washington yarn company. And it is designed by Caitlin Hunter, who is formerly from the Portland area and now currently living in Alaska. And so and then I bought the Tumalo yarn from Tatiana in Bend, Oregon. So I was like, wow, it's a very Pacific Northwest heavy episode, and I was looking through my stash and I have this beautiful skein of another Portland dyer, Sunny Day Fiber. So this is a cute little sock set, and it is called Icy Hot Blue, fingering weight, 75% superwash and 25% nylon. And it's just a cute little sock base. Sunny Day Fiber is actually the yarn dyer that made the very first knitting kit that I bought 3 years ago off of Etsy. It was a little kit to make a hat for my then unborn son, and she had the most beautiful pattern with the best tutorials linked to it so that I could teach myself how to knit. And it was through her pattern that I really fell in love with knitting. I also knit another one of her patterns that was a very cute baby sweater for my son. And yeah, anyways, I ran into her at a fiber festival a few months ago, well, like maybe a year ago, and I bought this sock set from her. And I haven't used it yet, and I was thinking, since this is a very Pacific Northwest themed video, that I would give away my Pacific Northwest yarn to one of you. All you have to do to enter is leave a comment down below letting me know that you're interested in the yarn. And please make sure that you live in the United States, because I'm not exactly sure how to ship this internationally just yet. This is the first time I'm doing a giveaway, but just make sure you leave that comment before February 1st. I will be checking the comments then and picking a winner, and I will post the winner's name down below in one of my upcoming videos. So make sure you watch the next few videos to see if you won. Thank you so much for entering and watching these videos. I really appreciate all of your comments and your likes and your subscriptions. Thanks for all your support, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Happy knitting! Bye!